Um, there's one thing in the book that kind of caught me was your take on Iron Maiden, which I thought was funny. But the only question I really have for you is, so many years later, now when people talk about heavy metal, they'll always go Priest, Maiden. Like there's always like a list, and it's always Priest, Maiden. So now, so many years later, how do you feel about kind of being synonymous with Iron Maiden when it comes to like metalheads talking about metal?
I would have to say I really appreciate the fact. Well, I appreciate the mighty Iron Maiden because, obviously being British, Judas Priest, Iron Maiden, Black Sabbath, Saxon, whatever. And, when you think about it, there's really not enough. There should have been a lot more, coming through on the back of those bands, so maybe that time will come again, because we always hear about the new wave of British heavy metal, which apparently Iron Maiden and Saxon, Def Leppard were, but we don't have the new wave. We had the one wave, or we may have been the first, let's say, the second, those guys, but where's the third? But yeah, congratulations to those guys for being, ginormous, and obviously, total respect, and those. But I must say, commend, those guys for their work ethic. Boy, they just go round and round the block. Where do they get their energy from? I've done a lot of it, but those guys, yeah.
I love the human element of even though you kind of talked a little bit about them being kind of pains in the butts back in the day, you also talked about a little bit of, I'll say, jealousy with, the marketing and the Eddie and the stage, all of the things that come with Iron Maiden that Judas Priest didn't get. And I think it's humanizing to you for someone to be in such a huge band to still kind of, see something like that.
I think, I have to say that Iron Maiden got an awful lot of things right, where we got some things not so right, I guess, but I'm still immensely proud of the success we had and what we did. Just things like we were fairly eclectic, really, with albums. We would kind of do some U-turns and stuff, and try to, because we always felt in the early days it was our duty to widen the band spectrum of the fan base for metal, because we could do songs like, for example, Blood Red Skies or Living After Midnight. That's an extreme boundary there of metal, but it fits, and there's an awful lot in between, So we were always not exactly experimenting, but just maybe pushing the boundaries maybe a little bit too far sometimes, maybe for some of the fans. And so we had a fan divide where some fans liked this Judas Priest and some fans liked this Judas Priest, like the darker side or the more rock side, because in the early days, bands like us couldn't get gigs, we couldn't get record contracts, we couldn't get gigs. So we had to be more flexible with our material, But I think when bands like Iron Maiden came along, they kind of knew their direction.
They had the blueprint,
yeah, and kept it there. And that element of consistency as well with bands like the mighty AC/DC and various bands, that works really, really well. So that element of consistency and also the consistency of just going out year after year as well, and working really, really hard. We did 2 studio albums in 1 year in '79, something like that. And we did an awful lot of touring, But yeah, I'm mighty proud of where we're at, with metal, but we just could do with a lot more bands as well.